Hello, listeners. I'm Arjun, and you're listening to Audiographer's free-willing restoration of the art of telling. With the fifth episode turning the page, I would be sharing with you today my conversation with a profound name associated with contemporary Indian literature, representing the global literature as one of the foremost identity from our subcontinent. To introduce her, I must connote her name as a celebrated author in English as well as in Bengali language, a popular screenwriter for the Bengali cinema and radio programs in the recent times, and an independent filmmaker too. The name Reetwika Bannerjee is also a recipient of the prestigious Padmashree Award in Literature and several other national and international awards to her mention. A fluent in all genres of literature, Reetwika's writing has a specific affinity for magic realism, other realism when it comes to fiction, but intense historical subjects in the non-fiction, which her pen narrates like a captivating story. So, dear listeners, let's hear the story of a writer of such magnitude and the inner journey of a true artist. Hello Ritika, welcome to our Vinyls on behalf of our audience and Team Obo. So, my first question is, what is a story to you?
Well, first of all, thank you so much, Arjun, for having me here on Vinyls. It's really a delight to be here with you all. Coming to your question, what a story is? Well, I find it a little different from the bookish definition. Of course, you know better than me. As a storyteller, I find a story to be a play of words. Play of words where we try to capture a moment, maybe a few characters, some emotional ups and downs, some sort of incidents, something where audience will like to know more, the readers will like to know more. So choosing those words around it and bidding them into, the kind of to form a string, having maybe a dose of emotion, a bit of, maybe a bit of socio-political current situations where we belong to. Because for me, I believe that every story captures the time we live in, if it's a real-time story. And yes, it should have a message at the end. That's what a story is for me.
Right, so in a way, you mean to say the story, the contentment of the story is absolutely in and within the society, among us, in the life. So,
some way or the other, it captures the life we live. But if you see the evolution of storytelling, right? So there has been a massive change over the years. Going back a little in time, let's say around a century back, the kind of stories were narrated that time were like very idealistic, kind of fantasy driven, or maybe something related to the mythology, some fairy tales, and those fairy tale characters being given a personalization, and they were impersonated to behave like human beings, think like human beings, talk like human beings. A few years later, if we say look around, maybe around the time when India, if I look from an Indian perspective, during the time when we are in the colonial rule, socio-political impact was very important at that time. Yes. Because the powerful writers were actually using stories, their words as a tool to motivate their readers, motivate the nationals against the anti-nationalist movements. And there are a lot of, I'll say, motivational and inspirational writings in terms of stories, songs, and a lot of dramas and all those things were very common. If you look through write-ups of Tagore, Sharadindu Bandyopadhyay, and the names are a lot, Bankim Chandra Chattopadhyay. So after that, like after our independence, I think we have gone through massive changes in the art of storytelling. 10, 12 years after independence, things started slowly becoming more realistic, where we have started projecting what kind of life we live in. We started focusing from mythology to slowly to through socio-political journey to our present day, modern day. And our lives, moving into the life within the country, within the citizens, within our homes. Like it was like earlier, it was like an probably the approach was outside in. Now we have started looking inside out. We are giving an inside out picture.
That, in fact, I think it used to be very proverbial, right? In and around our colonial period coming to an end, and as independence was nearing in, rather if we see the phase between 30s, 40s, 50s, mostly we could say 40s to 50s and 60s, the era in Bengali literature, what we call the very ultra-modern realist era, Kollul Jug, the writers, they were very much, hard-hitting in a way.
Yes.
Like if you could name Manik Bandyopadhyay, Achinto Kumar Sengupta, writers like them, authors like them,
Exactly.
who had been Bimal Mitro, Premendra Mitro, in fact. So they kind of more pronounce their stories in a realistic manner. So, in a way, what you were saying, if I put the question, in Indian literature, is it all about story? What do you think so?
Well, story, yes, but may not be a fiction always.
Exactly.
It was a reflection of the society,
Exactly.
which was getting narrated through a fictional, I'll say, directive, some fictional background. But if we take the reflection out of the story, yes, it's all nature, all reality.
Similarly, Ritika, as an author, as a writer, if I ask you, how do you see the interrelativity of writing as an art with other art forms like painting, music, sculpture, maybe photography too? Uh, there is story in a painting, there is story in a photograph. Music also tells a story. So, as a writer, how do you see that interrelation of a story outside the domain of literature?
Well, in this case, I think a storyteller is in an advantageous position because if you see, when I am crafting a story, I have a lot of liberty compared to any other art form. For example, depicting a character, building a character. How do I want to paint my characters? What is the fate I want to give to that character? It's all in the hands of the storyteller. But if you look into, say, a sculpture or an art form or any kind of creative arts, a human being should look like a human being. That's the expectation from the audience. But when I'm reading a story, I don't know. I mean, it can happen. Let's say in the genres of writing, if I get into slowly into the different genres, let's say for say horrors, for mystery, for fantasy, for socio-political writers, for simple, romantic novels and all. Every genre gives you a power of imagination beyond the reality. But if you come down to music, if you come down to sculpture, if you come down to any kind of painting and arts and all, the expectations of the consumer is different. So in a way, the liberty of the writer, I somehow feel is more like I can sketch beyond the normalcy of what I see around me, the society, and beyond that. I can imagine more than maybe possibly other artists.
This very point, if I put it from the other perspective, from the receptor's perspective, that a story, when we read a story, today nowadays we hear a story as well. So when we end the story, we get to actually read the mind of the reader, right? For maybe a painter, or maybe a photography. Music, I'm putting it away because not instrumental music. If it's lyrical music, then again, lyrics is also like it's a piece of literature. As we know, ballads, they speak about the story. In a painting or in a photograph, an audience could actually have the liberty of interpreting the end in their own way. But I feel on the other side, a writer has the complete liberty of
Yes, you're right. Absolutely. Go back.
taking the story till the expected conclusion of his or her choice, right?
If you actually analyze this, just like you said, from a receptor's point of view, another thing which I find it interesting is comparing the other art forms apart from the stories. Even I'm including poetry as well. This is less indulging for a reader or the consumer. Why? Because it's already created, the complete piece is presented to you. Whereas, in terms of story, until you complete the entire story, reading till the last line, you are going through it. You are taking the journey with the writer. So that's a step by step, or it's kind of a staged presentation compared to other this kind of art forms.
From this point, as a writer, you have written quite a few scripts as well. So, how do you actually, as a writer, differentiate your level of psyche in between a screenplay and a story? How do you differentiate that?
Well, I have been fortunate to write both. For me, screenplay is not for me, I'm sure for everyone who has written a screenplay or who has been through a part of screenplay writing for any spectrum. It's a visual depiction of a story. Story is the core content, which is very dense, and it focuses on the characters and how they think, how they behave. Screenplay, apart from this, of course, the story is at its core, it also paints a picture around it. How the nature looks at that time, that's how art direction comes, right? So that mixing the core content with the visuals is what a screenplay
Materializing the entire time and space,
yes,
in a way.
Yes.
So this is where I can ask you. See, a screenplay also has a conceived image. Now, a story also preconceives an image, right? If we take for an example, one of the best examples, Pather Pachali, Song of the Road. Vibhuti Bhushan Bandyopadhyay also, created a very strong picture whenever we go through Pather Pachali as a novel, the abridged version as Amati Baby for the children. And then later when Chatterjee Ray, he made the film, definitely he gave another counterpart to the story. So there is both images there, both here, and images there, both there. If we come to the end line of Pather Pachali, how Vibhuti Bhushan Bandyopadhyay creates the picture of a very tragic, emotional journey, I must say, because Pather Pachali never ends. That Oppu leaves his village, and there he could see the signals turning red, and they're leaving, they're departing in the train. And the way Chatterjee Ray ended Pather Pachali. So, as a writer, you must also be fostering images within yourself before you start writing. So how do you see this? A story comes from an image, or image is a counteraction of the story?
The imageries are different. So, I don't know, it may be very specific to my way of looking at things. When I start writing a story, the first thing which I do is I stop thinking about what is going to happen in the end. I might differ from a lot of conventional story writing techniques, but this works best for me. I try to keep few things in mind. Say the characters can evolve over time. Certain things can evolve with things happening in my life. If it's a long story, let's say it's a novel. So if it's a 1 lakh words which I'm writing, definitely it's not feasible to write 1 lakh word in just one sitting. It will take at least, I don't know, if I write 1,000 words a day, it will take at least a month's time with breaks and all.
Yeah.
So in a month's time, my time frame, my mind frame rather, varies a lot, which is highly dependent on what social aspects I'm going through in my life. So as a writer now, if I think myself, this will definitely have a reflection on my writing. If I force fit the end, in the beginning it said, okay, this is the skeleton, this is start, these are the, middle, whatever ups and downs of stories and
That doesn't
subplots.
happen with all stories.
Yes, it's very difficult to force fit things. At times it will not be free flowing. The choice of words will actually fall short. Because my mind might be in a conflict when I'm trying to write a love story. So it is very difficult for a writer to be original. The characters will not be original, will not be talking in an original way, right? So they might also go through the same mental turmoil which I am going through. So that will be more realistic compared to if I try to force fit at this point. So I try to be it's evolving as a story, and somehow it works best for me.
In fact, this reminds of Franz Kafka, who actually redrafted a lot of his own works, a lot of his own novels. It also, if I'm not mistaken, the same thing happened once with Peter Bixel. He was a very temperamental writer. He used to redraft, he used to occasionally, drift his story. Maybe he had a very different point of view when he started, but the entire
In fact, I read one of his interviews. He actually agreed on saying that one of his stories, I'm not going to take the name of that story because that might be a spoiler, but I can give you tell you the link where you will find this interview. He said that I started so and so story with this draft in mind, and ultimately I ended up with a completely opposite to what I had thought initially after changing it a lot. So that's how a storyteller's brain actually works. Ultimately we all are human beings.
True.
The person who is writing belongs to this world. So whatever is happening here, the worldly affairs will definitely impact our brain. So if you try to keep it realistic, of course it should be like somewhere you allow yourself to be a part of the story. Don't think yourself that you are writing something which is completely fictitious.
Reetwika, it's that hailing from a Bengali ethnical background, how do you actually see the entire scape of Bangla literature in all these years changing?
It's a very tough question and very tricky question. Well, again, I like to take the liberty of keeping my personal opinion here.
Sure.
I have been reading a lot. A lot means a lot from my childhood, starting from Aesopir Golpo, Thakur Marjuli and whatnot, Chotobala. Then as I slowly grew up, I took up I started off with Tagore's poetry because recitation is something which I really enjoyed in my childhood. And then I got myself introduced to his timeless classics. Thereafter, starting reading through detective novels and Satyajit Ray's works. Sharadindu Bandyopadhyay has always been my admirer. So if you see in my writings also, there is some sort of reflection of his style. So, and now coming to modern literature I'm not taking anybody's name here because that might have an impact. So, all the, I'll say, leading authors of our time, I have read almost everything which I get to read, maybe in any printed form or in audio form these days. Actually, I really enjoy reading listening and writing audio stories. The main change which I see is the style of writing. That's the first stark change which I see. If we look into traditional writers, the kind of depth of the language, the quality of words, the choice of words were impeccable. Any Tagore piece you take, keep aside Tagore because he is anyways a polymath, we can't compare anybody with Tagore. Even if we consider other people, other authors of his times, or even a few years back that, those words did not find a replaceable word. So you will not find a word which is better than that. So it used to capture that essence of the moment in one word. But now, over the time, when we slowly started adapting to modern Bengali literature, where we are writing the way we speak, right? Shadhu Bhasha to Cholid Bhasha, and now spoken and broken language, spoken words. And that was good. I started relating myself to those characters, right? If I refer Ray's works, I mean, I could relate to many of the characters. I mean, depending upon my age when I'm reading that. But if I look now, there are two segments. There are still some very good writers who are carrying that flair of using proper words, but a lot of slangs are also now getting a part of literature, which is somehow I feel derogatory. As a storyteller, that differentiates me with a person on the road. After all, what I'm writing is a piece of literature. It is not a dialogue spoken on the road between two
Do you think
ill-spoken people.
It's becoming too much realistic? The trend of reality-based.
I still somehow feel that all people are not derogatory. But specifically if you're talking about West Bengal and Kolkata and Bengali literature, are we used to those kind of slangs with when we are talking in a family? Let's say I'm talking to my mother, you're talking to your sister. I mean, how many slangs do you use? Naturally, that doesn't come to us. But somehow I feel that in today's modern stories, the OTTs, I mean, the web series, what we are watching, the kind of stories which are being written, I mean, it somehow highlights the darker side of the society rather than we should be actually motivating people to see the lighter side of the world, the brighter side of the world. So that somehow I feel is we are slowly losing that. Maybe it's the right time we should think about it so that what is that we are trying to convey to our next generation by writing these stories. See how bad we are, how badly spoken our language is, what kind of slangs we have, or we want to show them, see, this could have been your life. Try to think something beyond this. I mean, the world is already dark, right? Why show the darker side? Let's at least try to torch the light.
So, Reetwika, tell me, how do you actually foresee the future of literature, future of storytelling? How do you actually see to it?
Audio stories, definitely audio stories, audio films. I'm sure audio dramas will be there because it's very convenient. Reading takes a lot of effort compared to listening because I myself, I read and I listen both. It depends upon my mood, of course, that whether I want to invest myself in a book or I want to just enjoy a story. If somebody is not an ardent reader, then perhaps audio storytelling is much powerful, much impactful, and it can touch anyone. Even somebody who can't read your language can at least understand.
Maybe one reason is we all have a genetic combination of radio legacy in our culture.
Yes.
And you see radio, and even before radio, storytelling has always been an integral part of our culture.
Absolutely.
Listening to stories. So, Reetwika, tell me about your latest book, which you have, authored on a very intense and serious subject, the unseen chapters of Indian national history. So, would like to know a little bit direct from the horse's mouth.
Sure. So, like you rightly said, so it brings a piece of colonial rule, say during the 1800s, when we were just out of the Sepoy Mutiny phase, and I mean there were lots of It's a nationalist movement, sporadic national movements happening in and out the state, like our state, Bengal, as well as throughout the country. So the background is a periodic background, colonial background, which is based on kind of a biopic, and not such a biopic exactly. It's a biographical narrative where I have taken the liberty as an author to imagine a certain missing piece of beats, because if I'm talking about, say, around 200 years back, so it is difficult to get exact information because there are a lot of missing narratives. And specifically talking about my domain, it focuses on the evolution of tea industry in Bengal and involvement of Bengalis in exporting tea from India to the whole world. So that's the main focus. So there are a lot of information available in sporadic buckets, and for almost, it went on for 10 years of my research on the ground. I have visited all the places related to the tea industry. The main person based on whose life this narrative has been written is Sri Jadunath Bandyopadhyay. He was a zamindar from the Murshidabad district of West Bengal, and I'm lucky to be his great-great-granddaughter. So that's an additional advantage I had, because I could take advantage of family wisdom about him, about his times, and a lot of collectibles which he was who he and his successors have preserved over time. So the book title is Jadunath Bandyopadhyay, Bengali Zamindar, First Indian Tea Tester, Tea Baron, and Secret Financer of Indian Freedom Fighters. So this book is now available on Amazon worldwide in both Kindle and paperback formats. So it focuses on this man, Jadunath Bandyopadhyay, who was a born zamindar in a elite family of Murshidabad, but that he was not happy with what he already had. He wanted to build a cult. He wanted to change the time he belonged to. And he chose tea as his voice. So he was the first Indian tea tester in a world of, say, European bureaucrats. It was very difficult for him to break that bureaucracy and go on to become the first Indian tea tester in 1820s. And later, and it was his sons. He had two sons, Bashanta Bandyopadhyay and Ananta Bandyopadhyay. So they were also following the same tradition of their fathers. But unfortunately, it was like, if you understand the tea industry at that time, it was fully a British-backed industry, where a few zamindars or tea barons like Jadunath Bandyopadhyay, and there were other people of his contemporary, who were trying to create a hold in the tea market, tea auctions and the tea production houses, setting up tea factories across Duars and North Bengal and well. So it was at Kathalguri Tea Estate, which was owned by Sri Jadunath Bandyopadhyay, and that also went on to become the first Bengali-owned tea estate of those times. So, and that's been a great journey for him, and it exists even today. Unfortunately, we had to change hands. The lease got over for the lands, and it has been now taken up by some other firm. But if you happen to land up in Duars and go to Kathalguri Tea Estate, you will still find a temple created by him. It's still, he is being considered as the founder of the school, the girls' school, the creche. The creche was created at that time. So it's 100 years old creche. So tea workers used to keep their children there and come to the factories and all. And then there is also a hospital, there's a manager's quarters, and lots of other things are there. And there's a Bhutan border, it's right till there. There was a Diana River was there, and until then a water shortage was a lot of mean, it was difficult for the people of tea factory. So he set up a water tank there, which even the canal goes to Bhutan till this connecting barrage, and all these things you can still go and visit. I have been personally going there, meeting the people, local people, talking to them, and they still remember Jagannath. That's the best part, which which really touched me. They still remember Jagannath, and they are thankful, saying that this is the man who actually changed their ancestors' life, and that's how they are here today.
I must say that this latest literary work of yours, it will definitely contribute in a most profound manner to our nationalist history.
While researching through this topic, I found that not just he was a tea baron, he was also, conducively supporting the Indian freedom fighters through his, he was providing safe houses to the absconding people, right? Specifically, if I take the example of Bagha Jyotin, alias Shri Jyotirnath Mukhopadhyay. So he was a very, very close family friend of Jagannath Bandyopadhyay, and multiple times it has happened that Bagha Jatin has taken a refuge in one of Jagannath's, say, tea bungalows or some property. Also, Jagannath owned a couple of expensive voyages, like one was a Bochra, another was a Hummer car. Both these vehicles were used purposely for covert channels for bypassing through the Ganges from Murshidabad to Kolkata and Rajshahi and beyond.
Such a thrilling history, and I'm quite sure this will be enlightening the readers quite a lot. Reetwika, before I put the end, so my last question would be, as a storyteller, a writer, how do you plan up your future work? In what aspect do you see to, contribute artistically more and more?
So, to answer you, just started working on my next project. So, this is again a very different genre from what I've written so far. It's going to be an English novel, which is inspired from the life of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So, because if you know about him, he is a character of mystery. He's a man of mystery, full of mysteries, mysteries and miracles. So, I'll not like to spoil the thrill, but this is going to be.
Interestingly, just let me just add. He was mentioned once by Karl Marx on mass culturalization, mob culture, mobocratic culture, and later by great leftist thinker and writer Maurice Comfort. Chaitanya was considered as one of the biggest art and cultural mobilizing factor, if you could see in the history.
Absolutely. His Shankirtan movement was not a religious thing. It was more a mobocratic thing.
Yes.
So he actually was inspiring people by spreading, I'd say, empathy, by spreading love for your own kind, love for mankind, love for God, be it any form. And above all, embracing people from different backgrounds. Your ethnicity doesn't matter to me. He always kept saying that in every sermon he gave, right from his, if you just take his route from Nodia to Vrindavan and then back to Puri, the entire, India, he took a tour on food. Everywhere he has spoken the same thing. Forget about your ethnicity, embrace God, embrace love.
True.
That's where you actually belong to. That should be your destiny. So, something related on Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he will be there in and out. His principles, his sermons will be there as part of this story. And let's see how best I can put it into words.
I would definitely wish you all the best for your upcoming successes, for a profound journey which we all readers will be a part of it.
Thank you so much.
And hope to see more of your work, Ritika. Thank you.
It was really great talking to you, Arjun. Thank you so much.
Dear listeners, I'm quite sure it was as engaging for you all as it was for me to hear Reetwika speaking her insight of being a traveler of time with her pen. It is just not a story, few phrases or words, which are the ingredients of the magical creations an author could create, but also the insurrection of the consciousness of the writer too. It leaves me struck with a question. Then who pre-evolves? The artistic invocation or the consciousness, which dwells inside as well as everywhere? It reminds me of what Aussie filmmaker Ritvik Katak once said, "Think, it will make you evolve." So as I bid farewell for the day, I would like to remind you that we will be coming back with more such stories only on Obo. Till then, stay well, stay in peace, and stay tuned to Obo.